Have you ever talked your way out of a sale? Whether you just kept talking and talking and talking and the sale didn't happen, or you were on, let's say, an emotional roller coaster from the day because you had a bad experience that day, and no matter whether the sale was brand new or close to closing, you just didn't care and you went into an argument with your prospect and ended up ultimately talking yourself out of the sale. Well, it happens all the time, and I'm guilty of it. I've gone through it, and as a manager, I listen in on phone calls of my team, more for quality control and so that I can offer coaching advice. And so I had one where my agent was kind of going back and forth. My agent did very well, very calm, kept reserve, and the prospect in this case was more hostile than anything. And my agent wasn't in the wrong, but we also, at the same time, we sell a product that most consumers don't understand. Or you might share the same frustration. You might have a bundle package that's hard to explain, and thus it's hard to understand. And anyway, in this conversation, as I'm listening, I heard kind of like bickering, like an argument almost, where you got to talk. They're starting to talk over each other. They're starting to fight on whose turn it is to talk. And so I jumped on the call to see if I can, maybe offer any coaching advice. And ultimately, what happened was that my agent was in the right. He was absolutely right. He wasn't wrong at all. He was giving good advice. He was giving the answers. And what happened is maybe the client was a little drunk or just not in the right state of mind and started arguing and say, no, you said this and you said that. And so then it just became this big he said, she said game. And I noticed one thing is that my agent, although he was in the right, he felt the need to prove his point. And it became an argument. And human nature, when you feel you're right, but to what cost? And so, we can talk to people until they're blue in the face and try to explain that the sky really is blue during the daytime. We promise. And that person who we're talking to can tell us, no, it's not blue, but we know it's blue. And so we'll be, we feel the urge to just say, no, I'm right, and it's human nature, right? Where that can actually work against you when you're talking to your prospect and you get into this argumentative mode where you just got to prove your point. And so, we sat down and coached each other, or I started talking to him and we talked to each other, and I coached him through different ways on how to snap out of that argumentative phase, which I'll share with you at the end of this video. But what it turned out, the reason why he chose to opt into proving his point or get in an argumentative state, mind you, this deal was just really close to closing too, like really close, like within the next 7 days. Our last 45 days spent processing that sale was about to close. But emotions, they get the best of you, right? And if you don't control them, they control you. And ultimately, this is what happened, is that he was kind of going through some shit with operations. He felt that he was arguing with operations that's supposed to be giving us support that the sky's blue. Operations saying, no, the sky's not blue, and so on and so forth, right? So the friction that sales has to deal with is not only from a consumer standpoint, but it's also from operations. And my advice to him was that, if we take a step back and we look at all these things that actually start our downward spiral per se, or our negative momentum, the energy that makes you feel like, fuck, everyone's working against me, everyone's out to get me, every client's not gonna buy today, or it's a bad day, or I'm having a shitty month. It's that energy, the energy that tells you that shit. In order to avoid it, you kind of got to look at where it's rooted from, right? And so where it was rooted from was an email that happened earlier that day. And I had to have sat down with him probably towards the end, maybe about 5 o'clock in the evening. And it was that email that even though it was small and it was just a minor misunderstanding, it ate at him. And it just slowly ate at him, and he felt that he was in the right. He shouldn't have to go through that, whatever excuse, whatever reason we tell ourselves when we're in the heat of the moment. he was under it. He was going through it. And because of that event that happened in the morning, his whole day was fucked up. And so where I'm getting at is, the subject is, have you ever talked yourself out of a sale? And in this case, he almost talked himself out of a sale just to prove his point, prove that he was correct with this prospect. And due to an experience that happened way earlier in the day on a completely different file, it affected his mood and his energy to where he almost talked himself out of a sale. And so it's not just, there are other ways to talk yourself out of a sale as well. You could just be overselling, like the client and the prospect clearly wants to move forward, but you just keep fucking talking, and therefore it just gives the client or the prospect more to think about. And so now you talked yourself out of the sale because you brought up some lingo or verbiage or an idea or a thought or some sort of information that created doubt or fear, and now the prospect wants to hold off and think about it more. But you just had the opportunity to close that sale probably 5 minutes ago, but you decided to build more rapport, or you decided to nail down some extra benefit. And in the process, the prospect then thought of 5 more different questions. And so when you go through down that rabbit hole, instead of keeping the momentum moving forward, or the conversation moving forward, the process moving forward to close, sometimes, again, our emotions get the best of us. We feel like we have to do more than necessary. And in this particular example, where a newer agent, or maybe, just you don't even have to be new. Shit happens all the time, where you just keep pounding benefit and you don't just go in for the close, is because you're so automated and part of a process that you forget to listen to the prospect signs, the buy signs. And if you're not focused and fully in tune with that conversation or with that engagement, like you're busy checking emails or looking at your phone or checking your caller ID or responding to an email that on operations on a completely different file, you're gonna miss important shit like this. And while you're trying to keep all the plates spinning and trying to close that other deal, we're actually messing up and sacrificing the time that we should be using to generate new deals. And so I see it all the time. But getting back to where an argument can come into play, or you feel like maybe the prospect just keeps staying on a topic and you can't seem to get past, and we all come across that. And in this example, it would work in either one. But for the agent that felt that they needed to prove their point and almost talk themselves out of a sale, it was all because of the he said, she said, or you said this and you said this at the beginning. What is that about? And almost calling us like we're lying. But really what it was just a misunderstanding. And my agent felt like it was a point to just say, hey, no, you know what? I went over this clearly. I'm not in the wrong. You're wrong. And it got into that argumentative point. Well, I would say the strategy or a trick in order to kind of snap them out of that argumentative mode. And when I say them, I'm talking about the prospect. Like they're telling you something that just doesn't make any sense, and you don't want to take any more of your precious time arguing that the sky is blue to any of your prospects. A great trick or strategy is that you interrupt them like this. You say, oh, Daniel, I got it. Okay, I accept, I accept responsibility. Now I understand what you're saying. Now we're on the same page. Okay, so this is what's going to happen. And then you go right back into whatever point you're trying to make, just as long as you keep the momentum moving forward towards the close. Sometimes our prospects just want to be heard. And like I said, we can sit there and until we're blue in our face arguing with them that the sky is blue, and we know it's blue. As sales representatives, we know our job. But at the same time, if you're more concerned about proving a point, or you're more concerned about making a sale, or that sale is going to die, and you're not actually in tune with certain signs and certain cues from your prospect, you're going to miss out on the opportunity to close. And the whole point of a sales conversation is to close the sale, right? So I hope that this helps, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.